A weekend, once again, of crazy finishes, unbelievable fourth quarters, and big movements by some certain teams. We'll get into it next on Beyond the Locker Room. Week 7, we have a lot of different things to go through today. 3 major games, as always, that I like to focus on. So let's get right into it. First one I'm going to get into is Colts-Chargers. Big game in the AFC. You know, the Colts have been kind of like the surprise team in the conference this year. We haven't discussed them too much, but I think today I wanted to focus on them because right now they are at the top right now of the conference. I kind of forgot about that last week, So hey, props to you Colts fans. Sorry to my cousin in this case, and that's his team. So hey, man, we've been discussing them all year. I questioned this case here if the move to Daniel Jones was the right move, and it has proven so far, with about a third of the season gone, that it is the right move so far. I mean, Jones had a big day, threw for 2 scores in this case here, had about 288 yards of passing. He's looked really polished and, looked really composed. Kind of like the Daniel Jones we saw for that one season in New York where it's like everything clicked, and it does seem like, there's something there. Jonathan Taylor is right back to where he usually is, 3 touchdowns, over 90 yards of rushing. He looked fantastic, and I think, the Colts seemed to have no problem with it. For the first half of the game, they were really controlling the game, and then afterwards, the Chargers did make some adjustments at halftime. So the props to Harbaugh and the crew, they did make some adjustments. And Herbert ended up throwing for over 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he had 2 picks in this game. And I think that's one of the things, from a Chargers perspective, you have to wonder about more and more. That the more they give Herbert the opportunity to put the ball in the air, the more susceptible he is to actually throwing picks. I said before, early in the season, they seem to be doing more, I guess, game management style with Herbert, and that's not really, I say in this case they've been moving around a little bit. I would say game style in this case here. That's a little too harsh. I would say they were being much more conservative with their approach with him, I found, compared to years past. But this game, it was kind of old school Herbert in that sense where they were airing it out. And they had to. They were trailing in this case at halftime, so they had no choice. So they didn't really have much of a run game to go to at that point. But the Colts, held their composure, even though being up for a lot, about 2 or 3 scores at one point. They kept their composure, stuck with it, and end up, doing their thing and getting the win, a big win on the road. So that's a fantastic win on their part. From the Chargers' perspective, the defense is becoming an issue. We're showing cracks on that side, and that was the strength of their team last year, but it's really been an issue. It's starting to become an issue as the season's progressed. They have potential, but every time they kind of stub their foot, it seems like they stub their toe, be it with turnovers or can't get off the field on big plays like a 3rd and 17, 3rd and 18 or wherever it was. That's another, where you got to get off the field, man. You got to find a way to get off the field for third and longs. You have to do it. And the Chargers have been kind of incapable the last few weeks of doing so in certain circumstances. So I would say the Chargers there's a little concern here. In their division, obviously the Chiefs and them are pretty much, locked in a battle at the moment. Obviously you saw the Raiders game this week against the Chiefs. As I said last week, the Raiders, yikes. I would be surprised if Pete Carroll decides, you know what, it's been fun, guys, just retires. It's rough. But and then the Broncos, who we'll get to in the next game, but which I'm still not sold on completely. But I think from a Colts standpoint, they've got 1 loss at the moment. They have a pretty good balance on both sides of the ball. I'm still not sold quite on Daniel Jones, so I'm sorry, Colts fans. It's hard to kind of see them as a really possible real threat to be to make the Super Bowl from the AFC. So that's where I am with them. But overall, they've had a great season so far, and the decision to put Daniel Jones in the starting lineup has paid off. So you got to give them their due. Game number 2, Giants-Broncos. This was a wild one. My goodness. When I was watching this game, I had pretty much I switched over more to the Colts game at that point. Come back to see what. So the Giants were in control. At least they seemed to be looking like they're in control of this game. It was 19-0 at one point. I mean, Denver couldn't get anything going. You started really wondering if you're a Broncos fan, if you had the right quarterback. It was that type of game where you're wondering, like, is this the dude really? Is Bo Nix really that guy? I mean, and this game was interesting because it had a little bit of intrigue before it. There's a lot of talk from the Denver defense about how Dart was having he's having too good of a time last week. I'm like, okay, whatever. Okay, and at least for 3 quarters they weren't really backing it up per se. I mean, they played okay. They held them off in this case for a few times to keep the score within some type of reach at 19-0 as we enter the fourth quarter. Then the fourth quarter happened. As I said before, I couldn't believe my eyes when I went back. It's like, what? Went and caught up or see what happened. I mean, all of a sudden, Bo Nix started finding receivers. Ended up in this case, 4 touchdowns by him. They ended up putting 33 on him in the fourth quarter. What the heck is going on there? That's the type of loss in this case from the Giants, and who's been playing pretty decently lately since they put Dart in. But that's the type of game where it's like, at the end of the season, man, if they move on in this case here from Daboll, this would be one of the games that would definitely be on the resume where they say, like, look, dude, this is what we're talking about. Because you can't be up 19-0 and give up 33 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's a classic trying not to lose type of game. Especially a rookie quarterback, you could feel it, the anxiety as they, as Denver started kind of, putting points on the board. So you can see them start locking up. So not a good look at all. Not a good win. Not a good loss, I should say, by the Giants. And it would have been a great win on the road too for them. So really disappointing if you're a Giants fan. For the Broncos, I'm not even sure what to take from this. To be honest with you, the defense bent but didn't break, which is great, and they do have a great defense. But Bo Nix, I'm just not sure if he's it, man. The numbers coming into it was rough. He was in the bottom third in a ton of statistical categories, and I just don't know one good quarter is going to save him for the rest of the season. I mean, if you're a Denver fan, you feel it. Yeah, in a way, you're kind of like how me as a Steelers fan would feel in this case, like where you feel you have all the other parts, but you're just missing the quarterback. And it feels that's the kind of the case with Denver, where they have a great defense. I think they have some talented skill positions at the skill positions, and you feel like just if they had just the right quarterback, which they've been searching for pretty much for like the last 2-3 years, to be honest. If they ever get that, then they're on their way, and I'm just not sure if Bo Nix is it. But hey, time will tell, as they say. Time will reveal. Game number 3. This was an interesting one out in the desert. Packers-Cardinals, they seem to always have really intriguing games and a lot of points to get put up with these two teams. Even in the Rodgers era, it was like it was never a dull moment with these two teams. So this kind of stayed with that tradition. Jacoby Brissett got the start due to Murray's injury, and for the most part, I would say from the Cardinals side, it wasn't pretty. As expected from a backup, he made some boneheaded plays like that one there trying to toss the lateral. And to be honest, not lateral. He's actually trying to throw. He was trying to throw it. At first, I thought it was an incomplete pass, and then when you look on the replays, like, oh no, the ball was already coming out. So it was tough with that play. But I was thinking for a second there the Saints game, which was another crazy game. But in this case here with the Cardinals, I feel. I don't know what to put. Something's just missing with them, and I can't put my finger on it. McBride was a beast as usual. 2 touchdowns for him. He is kind of like that steady blanket. He's like the Linus in this case here, like the blue blanket for Linus for any Cardinals quarterback. So he's a fantastic tight end. And they're doing their thing. Packers get the gritty win. Love is still streaky as hell, man. Streaky as hell. You never know what you're gonna get with him, and it really does come down to him at this point. I think for the Packers. He's got the talent, obviously, but it's just like, you just don't know which version of him is going to show up from game to game or quarter to quarter at times. I would say, Parsons, once again, fantastic. 3 sacks, seals the game with a big play. Like, he's everything they asked for the most part. He's delivered on that front. Like, you can say what you want about, if he's really worth this amount of money, or if he's really a two-way player, he can play the run and the pass. But at least from the standpoint of like you looking for a pass rusher to kind of get the job done, he's delivered on that front. There's no 2 ways about that. And they still seem to be a work in progress, Green Bay, but I still like them when it gets down December and January. So we'll see where things stand with them, but I think it's going to be a fascinating few couple of weeks with Green Bay, because I think it comes down to love when it's all said and done. That defense, I think, will improve as the season goes on. To get more chemistry, but if Jordan Love could just stay consistent, I think they could be a dangerous team come January. So we'll see. We'll see. It's a few locker room takes. As I said before, I kind of gave one earlier. The Raiders situation is just a hot mess. I would be surprised if I see Tom Brady all of a sudden decide he's just going to start coaching the team. It's rough out there in Vegas at the moment. And, they're already looking at, I think, Raiders fans are already starting to think about who's the quarterback for next year, the draft choices that are coming out. So I don't know what to say anymore about the Raiders. It's been a mess for a while. And it's unfortunate. I always have a soft spot for the silver and black, so I would love to see them kind of become that type of team again. Who knows from that perspective, though. Dallas Washington was a real fun game. Dallas put up some numbers, and and from a Washington perspective, you really got to start concerning yourself with Jane Daniels. He's getting hurt too often, folks. This was one of the concerns people had coming out of college, that the slim build was going to be a concern. Can he hold up? And he held up for the most part in his rookie season, but he's getting nicked a lot so far this season. This will be the second time this year already, in about 7 games, I believe, that he's already missed games or missed time. So, and let's face it, the history of Washington QBs getting hurt, I mean, that's something you don't want to go down. I don't want to mention the individual's name, but you know who I'm talking about, and you don't want to go down that path. And I hope that young man gets healthy quickly and it's nothing too serious. But it's something to keep an eye on for Washington, because I find them a fun team to watch. I hope in this case he can stay healthy, because they do have some great weapons. The defense still needs some work, but I think they're a fun team that's going to be a difficult out if they're in the playoffs. So we'll see, but it's looking dim right now at the moment. They got a lot of work to do to get back into it. So we'll see from that standpoint. Niners and the Niners, they find a way. I'll just leave it at that, and I'll leave it there for the time being. One more thing. Let me tell you something, folks. I'm a Steelers fan. I'm a Seahawks fan, but this is specifically about the Steelers. Any Mike Tomlin coach team gets a Thursday night game. I'm no betting man, but if you guys are betting men and women, don't pick the Steelers on Thursday nights. This is actually one of their better results, I would say, even though they lost, because usually they just get humbled and get mollywopped, but they actually had a chance. Rodgers came up big when needed to, but the defense had, which I thought was kind of on. I thought the defense was kind of getting back to themselves, but maybe it was just fool's gold because they were playing Cleveland. But that is something to be of concern, because that's something you always rely on if you're a Steelers fan, that defense, and it's giving out 33 points to the Joe Flacco. That's an issue. And Jamar Chase, that's the dude. I mean, Justin Jefferson's fantastic, great player in his own right, but to me, Chase might be the best receiver in the league. He is that good. He can run every route possible. He's physical too. He doesn't seem it from the guy his size, but he's a very physical receiver too. He's at the speed. You can run you can run the seam. You can run any sort of in pattern. Short passes, go deep. He's fantastic. And it does make you wonder seeing Joe Flacco put up those numbers. And don't get me wrong, I love my man Joe B, but it does make you wonder a little bit how much of those Joe B numbers are a bit inflated based on the talent that he has around him, considering Joe Flacco just showed up last week and is putting up those numbers and 33 points on the Steelers. So, food for thought, let's put it that way. I'll leave it there, folks. As usual, you know where to find me. Weeklies on Basketball Rewind. The hoop season's here, finally. We'll get into a lot of Raptors talk and stuff around the association. So check me out, as well as the guys on Basketball Rewind. As always, folks, you can find me on my social media platforms. On that place called X, on Blue Sky, on Facebook, and of course right here on YouTube, where you can like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate the support. Check you next time, folks. Peace.